Welcome to a Better Divorce podcast, where we have conversations about the emotional, financial, and legal issues that are on your mind or should be on your radar if your goal is to keep your divorce out of court. I'm collaborative divorce attorney and mediator Andrea Vacca, and I know that how you divorce matters to your long-term well-being. That's why it's my mission to help you have a better divorce with as little acrimony as possible, so that you can create the best life possible on the other side of your marriage. Hi, everyone. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know I'm usually having a conversation with a guest who has a background in law or finance or mental health or coaching, and we're talking about a topic that can help you have a better divorce. So while I ask every guest different questions, I always end each interview with this question. What is the one tip you have if someone wants to have a better divorce? So we just finished recording our first season, and I looked back over the different episodes that we had to see what kind of tips everybody gave. And I realized that while all of them were very different, they fall into one of two categories. Some of them talk about how to be, and others talk about what to do. And because mindset is so important to the divorce that you will ultimately have, we're going to focus on the how to be tips this week. One of the main tenets of positive psychology is to allow yourself permission to be human. So when you're contemplating divorce or in the middle of the process, you're going to experience a wide range of emotions, with most of them being labeled negative. You'll feel that they're negative. Others might feel that they're negative. These emotions will be frustration, fear, anger, resentment, denial, sadness, revenge, bitterness. The secret to a better divorce is to allow yourself to feel those emotions, but not get stuck in them. So the better divorce tips I'll be sharing today can help you be different so that you can feel different. So let's talk about how to be in your divorce. My first podcast guest was certified divorce financial analyst Aviva Pinto, and her tip was to be kind. I loved hearing this tip from her because we've been talking about finances throughout the whole episode, and then her tip was very emotional driven. She pointed out that you will not come to a better agreement by trying to get one over on the other person. All you're doing is creating even more toxicity in your relationship, and that will help everyone to suffer more. If that's your goal, try to, then you want to get one over on the other person. But if your goal is for everyone to suffer a little less, then you want to be kind. And that made me think of the quote, resentment is like taking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So being kind during your divorce may not be your natural instinct because you're feeling angry and sad and fearful. But remember that you can be kind by what you don't do, as well as what you do. You can show kindness by taking a breath before responding. You can be kind by not rolling your eyes. You can be kind by not saying that thing you know will trigger your soon-to-be ex. So being kind will bring down the temperature and allow you to have a different conversation, and that will help everyone involved. Dr. Randy Heller's tip was to be compassionate. Be compassionate with yourself and your soon-to-be ex. You're both suffering in some way, whether you wanted to end the marriage or not. This decision is not easy, and life is changing for everyone. You may not be at your best at all times during a divorce, but neither will your spouse. So give yourself grace when you mess up. Do the same for your ex, and all you can do is try to do it better the next time. Dr. Heller also had another piece of advice, and her other tip was to find reasons to be grateful. Maybe it's the great children that came out of your marriage. Maybe it's the ability that you and your soon-to-be ex can still talk calmly and productively about certain aspects of your life or your marriage or even the divorce. There may be and probably are some things that are still going well in your life, and maybe even as a result of your marriage, even though it's ending. But even if you can't conjure anything positive or anything good from your marriage, find other reasons to be grateful. Maybe you can be grateful for your supportive friends. You can be grateful for your good job or your health, maybe your extended family. Write down a few things that you're grateful for each day. Expressing gratitude in this way shows, there's many studies that show you'll have a improved mental and physical health if you do that. Those studies show you'll sleep better, your mood will improve, immunity will increase. So gratitude can help you feel better and actually make you healthier. It'll help you decrease depression that you might be feeling and decrease anxiety. Those are all very helpful when you're trying to have the best divorce possible. Divorce coach Karen McMahon's tip was to practice acceptance. Be accepting. She said something to the effect of, given that this is the case, given the fact that this is happening, what choices do I have? When you're in resistance to reality, you can't see the options available to you. All you're doing is fighting what's really going on. So even if you didn't want the divorce, once you accept that it's happening, your marriage is ending, you'll have so much more power to create the new life that lies ahead. Move out of victim mode. Be accepting of where you are, even if you didn't want that divorce. Or if you're the one who did want the divorce, but your spouse is moving much more slowly than you'd like, which I guarantee will happen in every divorce. One person's always moving faster or slower than the other. How can you find a way to accept that while you've been thinking about this for months or years or even decades, your spouse hasn't? They need time to process what's happening. Can you accept where they are and find ways to work with that? Lou Cerconi, who is a certified public accountant and a business evaluator, his advice was to be flexible. He said that there are many more options available when you stop seeing things in black and white. I can attest to that because when you draw lines in the sand, there's nowhere to go. So if you come into your divorce insisting that assets have to be divided a certain way, or you must receive or pay a certain amount of support, or you must have a certain percentage of time with your children, there's only so many places you can go with that. You can't negotiate when there's that line in the sand. But look for the gray areas. Listen to what's important to the other person. Think about what's truly important to you. Why is it important to you to have certain time with your children? Why are you thinking you want to keep those assets? If you can explain what's important to you and hear what's important to your spouse, you can find more options. Listen, if you don't want a judge to make decisions for you, you must be flexible in your negotiations. You have to find a solution that works for both of you, or you will end up in court. And you'll have no flexibility, no control there. So this is your chance. If you want to do this on your terms, you have to be flexible. So that's the summary of the tips that we got from our guests in the first season on how to be in your divorce. And so my better divorce tip for this week is be the person you would want to see on the other side of the negotiating table. We all need to feel our emotions, but there's a time and a place for that. So do you want to be faced with someone who's considerate and kind? Or do you want to be faced with someone who's nasty, resentful, and angry? Who do you want to be sitting across from? Be that person. That's my better divorce tip for the week. So it brings us to the end of our episode of A Better Divorce Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to find out more about our firm, you can visit us at vaccalaw.com and download our free ebook, Divorce Without Court, A More Peaceful Solution. We'll see you on the next episode.
You've been tuning in to another episode of A Better Divorce Podcast with Andrea Vacca. Thank you for subscribing, leaving your positive comments and reviews, and sharing the show with others. You can watch episodes at vaccalaw.com, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And you can listen through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Bye for now, and remember, you can have a better divorce.